Buenos dias, cholleros. Up here in a condo we have that'll be going pending. Nice little view. But I wanted to take a moment today to give you a little market update. Not going to go into numbers here, but I want to give you my thoughts on the market here in Cabo right now. I think it's time to be cautious when it comes to buying pre-construction in Cabo San Lucas, and I'm going to explain why, okay? Okay, in the past 2 months, we've had 2 developers come to my brokerage and ask if we could help sell projects for them. One was ground up and one had been on the market for a year with another brokerage. And what I'm starting to see is what I'm going to say is the developer merry-go-round. You see a lot of brokerages, they'll represent for a year, and then another brokerage will represent for a year. This necessarily wasn't happening when sales were bumping, and let me reiterate, sales are chugging along. We're going to finish 2023 at the same level of 2022 and 2021, which were record-breaking years for the Cabo real estate market. So by no means is there any weakness in the market. However, I do think a certain price point in pre-construction. So we refused both of those projects. The one that had been on the market for a year, we did not like the price points. We thought it was too expensive. So we're starting to see developers trying to build out or sell pre-construction product at built out prices, and there's a lot of projects on the market right now, so it's getting competitive. And then you have these developers getting squeezed by the peso to the dollar right now, which has dropped. It seems to be on the rise a little bit, but still they're still down maybe 10% from what their original projections were when a lot of these developers underwrote their projects at maybe when the peso was 20 to 1. So I think you're going to start seeing something on that as well. Another thing that I want to add is I had clients that reached out after they had a bad experience with another agent. And it was one of the easier sales I've had. They knew exactly what they wanted, but this particular agent brought them to pre-construction in Tezal. They had a bad experience. They came to me. It was a very easy sale. And why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I think this is going to continue. I think that these developers are going to have the brokerages under their thumb. They're going to be putting pressure on them. So you're going to see more people putting pressure on you to buy certain, specifically pre-construction projects, right? So I do think it is time to be cautious when looking at pre-construction condos in the Cabo area right now. So I met with a developer in the San Jose area. This particular group has done work in the Tulum area, Mexico City area. They've got land in Pescadero, and they got a small piece of land in Centro in San Jose del Cabo, which will be a cool little project, but we got around to picking each other's brains. Right now, we're seeing interest rates in the United States at around 8%, right? So this is the highest interest rates have been in probably 20 years in the United States. You're seeing a lot of people would predict a crash in the real estate market. We have not seen that yet. A lot of people aren't selling, especially people that are locked in lower rates. Why would you sell when you have a rate of 3% when now it's 8%? So there's a different dynamic there. Me and him were talking about this, and 60% of real estate, residential real estate in the United States is financed, okay? Meaning 60% is done with mortgages or some type of credit, and 40% is done with just cash, okay? Now, how does that differentiate from Mexico? In Mexico, 10% of real estate purchases are financed, okay? 90% are done with cash. It is a completely different market here. And then in areas like Cabo, for example, you have cross-border mortgage companies, right? But if you're a US citizen, you do not have access to credit in Mexico from a financial institution here because you have no credit history, right? And if you did, you'd be paying 10, 11, 12% right now in this scenario. And there's no US company or like a Chase Bank, any major bank, Bank of America, is not going to lend you money on a house in Mexico. It's just not worth their time with the legal process and everything. They got enough business going on in the States. So you have cross-border mortgage companies, right? These companies, I would say, like, let's say your origination fee on a loan in the States might be what, 0.5%. Here it's going to be 2 points, right? So you're talking about much higher fees to lend here, on top of the latest one I saw with very qualified buyers from California was over 9%. So does the rise in interest rates hurt the market here? I don't think so, because at the end of the day, it's really a cash market. So you can make the argument that you actually have less demand in the United States right now because of higher interest rates. People here weren't financing for the most part anyway. I'd say 5% of the market is financing here. So if the US market got more expensive, that just makes the Cabo market look less expensive compared to the US market. But I will say, I was speaking with this developer and he said, do you have any concerns about the market here? My response was that I think Cabo is on a good 15-year tear of just getting built out, just based on the fundamental supply and demand. You know, we still have a ton of land, especially when you get outside of Los Cabos, you have a ton of land, right? So I think you're gonna start seeing more people look around Baja as well, but we still have a ton of demand here and not enough supply. What I told him though was that the pricing now, I will say, in some areas has gotten what I would call expensive, right? So we're not talking about, you know, when I first got in the market here in 2015, 2016, it was different. But a condo that you were buying, let's say pre-pandemic or right in the midst of the pandemic, let's call it $250,000. That same condo now is probably $350,000. Now in a market like, let's call it Austin, Texas, where you have financing readily available and you want to put 30% down, that makes it easy for prices to skyrocket compared to a market that is just a cash market, right? So I can understand that. What I was telling him is that I've seen the prices increase faster than I would like them to, because we don't really have financing here. And once again, people say, oh yeah, two years is not financing, right? That's like a bridge loan at the end of the day. But anyway, you don't have financing here and you've seen the market go up. So the moral of this video for anybody that's watching this is that I do think it's time to be cautious, okay? You need to work with somebody that is not gonna lead you into some BS project because they represent it, because they're incentivized to sell it. And I only think that's going to increase in the next 6 months, the next 9 months. And I think by the time summer comes around, we'll have a very good indication of what's going on. But I do think now is the time to be careful and work with somebody that knows the market, but somebody that is not biased. Okay, like myself, I very much like to play the entire market. I am agnostic to any particular project, and I think you need to be looking for somebody like that more so now than ever, because these developers are going to be, I can see it. They're trying to leave this company and come over to ours. They're trying to do this, but they're not changing anything fundamental. So they're blaming the brokerage, the salespeople. It's only going to get worse. Work with somebody who knows the market and is not going to pressure you into that. And with that being said, I believe that we will finish the year with 1.6 billion sold on the MLS, which will put us basically right in between 2022 and 2021. So we're seeing a steady, healthy market here. And I will say that the luxury side seems to be doing just fine. Everything really seems to be doing just fine. I just think it's time to pump the brakes and see what is out there, right? So if you're about to buy into a project and you're just like, something doesn't feel right, you know, I'm telling you, pay attention to that feeling more than ever right now. All right, so I hope you guys like this video. If you need any help with anything, reach out to me and drop some comments if you need any advice or questions answered, and we'll go from there. As always, I'm here, not going anywhere, happy to answer any questions you have or help out in any way. Hasta luego.